Okay. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Shahriyar, your host, and today I'm honored to be having Mr. Don with me live from Australia to enlighten us about what's happening in Australia at this crunch time, particularly for in the real estate market. So, welcome, Mr. Don.
Hi,
Just to
Sherry.
start with,
Thanks for having me.
in our part of the world, the word Don is pretty famous. So I'm sure after this interview, a lot of people will be looking after you. Where is this Don?
Okay, well, thank you, Sherry, for having me. First name, my last name is Don, and then
Okay,
sorry, my first name is Don, but you're calling me
okay,
Mr. Don. But people call
okay,
me Mr. Don here anyway.
okay,
It's not about me. It's all about you guys. Okay, so in Sydney, I live in Sydney
right.
for the past 20 years, and you can see my background there is pretty dark. It's 6 p.m. right now in the winter time in Sydney, but
Uh-huh.
it's beautiful. One thing I can say that is I'm in the most safest place on earth. I'm in Australia. I'm in an island country.
Okay, okay, that's good to know. So maybe to start with, before we get on to our topic, maybe just to share with the audience that today we are going to discuss how is the real estate market doing in Australia, what particularly related to Sydney,
Mm,
and what we can learn, how as an individual, how
mm.
as an investor we can take advantage of the current situation, and how is the best way to invest.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
sure,
Okay.
no problem.
So before we get into the topic, I'll just request you to just briefly give us your background in terms of your education and experience and how you ended up in real estate.
Yeah, sure. So basically, I came to Australia when I was 13 with my family. I was in China, and then the family, my parents decided to come to Australia. I think it's for maybe it's a better future for the kids, for me and my sister. And then
Right.
ever since, I've been just living in Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I was in uni studying a subject that is not related to real estate at all. I was doing aerospace engineering. It's
Wow.
pretty fancy. Yeah. So I think I'm really grateful that I did that subject. I mean, I did that course for 4.5 years. It
Mhm.
really got me the logical background. Anything that we see here, anything that we deal with, it can be solved. So we're more like a problem solver. Um, it can apply. I can apply problem solving into running a company, investing, finding or whatever investment properties or a strategy. It all can be done just using a problem solving the principle. And then one time my friend got me into investment seminar.
Mhm.
That was in 2011.
Okay.
And then I just got so obsessed with making money, especially through property. Like brick and mortar is always the safest investment vehicle that you can have here. A
Yeah.
lot of my friends, they make a lot of money in share in stock market, but I think right now they're all pulling all their money back and then to reinvest into brick and mortar.
Okay.
Yeah, so
That's
I'm in real estate for 9 years right now. I've seen the cycle since the GFC. That was like back in 2008, 2009, and then
mhm.
yeah, I saw that one, and then now I'm seeing just another one. Something a little bit more crazier than that one. But I got like 4 or 5 mentors that taught me in whatever situation, especially in recession. Like this is worse than recession. There's always opportunity. You just have to be brave. You just have to keep your eyes open, not to just follow all the sheep. You got to be the black sheep. Yeah, that's it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you because, especially, I think the most people who are currently at peace is the one who have investment properties and they're renting it out, and people who are working from home, they need a home to work from, right?
Yeah.
So now, and maybe because with so many people working from home these days, maybe in the near future it may become a norm as well, that if you can
Mm.
do work from home, then why do people need to have big offices? They can just divide people that who could work from home and who could who are necessary to come to the office. So yeah,
Well, you're
but yeah,
exactly
who have
right. You're exactly right. Like in Sydney here, our Prime Minister Scott Morrison have announced that the lockdown, I think it was like 2 to 3 weeks ago, and then ever since I've sent all my agent to work from home.
okay,
Like I didn't sack anybody, I didn't fire anybody, and instead I'm hiring another two agents because of the demand. Like people will be
wow,
curious, like, oh, how come you guys are still working, or how come you guys are still busy? I think we just have to adapt with the current situation. And
right,
then there's many traditional real estate out there. They used to rely on open signage and
right.
open inspections on Saturday and Sundays. And right now,
Mhm.
you can't have you can't have too many people going to one place. They
Yeah,
have
because
like
of the social distancing
yeah,
requirement.
that's right, that's right. So due to that situation, I mean, due to the
Maybe I'll touch upon that this question later on.
yeah,
Maybe to start with, I think how do you see overall property market in Australia at this point of time?
at this point of time, all
Yeah,
right. So just
an
say we
investor's perspective.
yeah, so like we had a long-term plan. So at the end of every year or at the beginning of every year, we
Mhm.
normally will go foresee what's going to happen this year within the property market.
Mhm.
So just say assume that we don't have the COVID-19. Like this year, February, March, April, it should be the most busiest period time
Mhm.
um, in the year, and the other golden time is September, October. Okay,
Mhm.
and then ever since the COVID-19 happens, it actually
Mhm.
stops a lot of auction. So the
Right,
auction you can still host auction right now, but you got to do it either by Zoom or by Facebook or things like that. But then
right.
it doesn't create that urgency. It doesn't create that atmosphere for the normal auction thing. So
Mhm.
that's why actually all these numbers have been slowed down. And for first home buyers in Australia, especially,
Mhm.
they're very uh, their confidence level isn't high at the beginning because they're making one of the big move in their lifetime. We totally
True,
understand because you and I we when we first purchase our property, we have to do all our formula, make sure it ticks all the boxes and all that. Right
true.
now, it just definitely slow down their decision making time, and also the local transaction had been slower, but doesn't totally stop. Like there's so many cases I can tell you, like so many. I just spoken to one of the channel sales manager in Sakisui House in Sydney. Like
Right.
she hammered 8 deals today, 8 deals through Zoom,
Wow, 8 deals in a
8 deals,
day.
8 deals
And
this
what is the
weekend.
average property? I mean, is it two bedroom or how? What is the average size?
The average size is about 80. It's in Wentworth Point, so it's right next to Sydney
Okay.
Olympic Park. It's got like a waterfront built by one of the top developers in Sydney or
Okay.
in the
Okay.
world.
Right.
Well, so
Wow,
I,
this
I
is
can tell
great,
you
great
why they're
to know
making
that
8 deals. I
people
can tell you that.
first thing interesting is that people are still buying, and I didn't know that they were buying so much, and you're not even physically moving from your desk in order to sell those properties.
Now I can send you all the screenshot from Danny. Like
Wow.
she's a sales channel manager in Sakisui House. She's like, I let me read this out to you. I have to read this out to you. It's
Okay.
very okay. So she's like, I only sell from my floor and people buy from their house.
Okay.
Armchair sales. All right. And then people are signing things electronically. So you don't
Okay.
have to even see your lawyer. You can do Zoom. You can do call with your solicitor, and then everything it's done without touching anybody. Very safe.
Wow, wow. I
Yeah.
think this is the approach that I think most of us should be adopting in terms of if we are into real estate market and we want to sell stuff. So yeah, that's good to know. So let's say for viewers who want to buy
Mm.
at this point of time, what kind of criteria that you could help them to decide? Generally, I'm not talking about because of the COVID situation in terms of the physical social distancing nature, but
Yep.
probably generally in terms of the prices, the average price that they should keep in mind
Mm.
if they're buying something in western side of Sydney or in northern side of Sydney. What is the price range at this point in time they should keep in mind, let's say for an average of a two-bedroom house or two-bedroom unit?
Well, I wouldn't give a price range because many
Okay.
people have their choices. But normally,
Right.
our approach is we ask them if they wanted to pay off the property or they wanted to get a loan. Is
Okay.
like we got first home buyers or we got owner occupier downsizing people. They just don't want it to have any interest. They don't want to pay the bank interest, so they pay off, and then they will still have another like 200-300K in the sitting in a bank just to retire. But we strongly recommend people to look for a mortgage to get a home loan because
Okay.
we all understand the power of leverage, right? We need to
Right.
use other people's money to make money. So our
True.
first approach is definitely ask them
Mhm.
if they are looking to get a loan. If yes, then we want them to understand their income, their expenses, so that way we can roughly know how much they can borrow from the bank, and
Right.
then they only need to come up with another like 20% or 30%, assuming the bank is borrowing you the big lump sum.
True. And I think probably now the interest rate has already gone down because in the
Oh,
current
oh
situation.
my God, I never seen this low before. It's at historical low. I've been talking to one of the authority figure here, Dr.
Right.
Andrew Wilson. Like
Hmm.
he's been in the property market for like 20 years. He studied property,
Right.
and he's telling me right now the interest rate is at only at like 2% for owner occupier, and about 2.3 to 2.4% for investor. And then you getting a rental yield for about 4%. Some vendor they're willing to offer you a rental guarantee and things like that for 5%. You think about it, one, your income is far more higher than your expense. So you're getting a positive cash flow. So right now is really like the best time to get great deals.
Definitely. I think even
Yeah.
especially if you are talking about positively geared investments.
Oh yeah, man, I'm obsessed with positive cash flow. Like, yeah, we've been to Grant Cardon's 10x
Yes.
conference, right?
Yeah.
Like he's saying that cash flow is king, but positive cash flow is God.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, especially in the current market that you would need extra cash in hand,
Oh yeah.
uh, especially your income resources have been limited due to various reasons in the current situation. In the I'm sure where I'm sitting right now, we have a 24 hours curfew, so we cannot even go out until it's very necessary to get some food or medical needs.
Mm,
I'm sure things won't be that much different in different parts of the world, especially we have seen how things are moving in US and in
yeah.
Middle East and in Australia as well. So yeah, so I think tell me about how you mentioned your one of your staff, she did like 8 deals in a day. So
That was not my stuff. That's actually a sales channel manager
okay,
from,
sorry.
yeah, from one of our developer. Yep.
Partners.
Yep.
So, I mean, how do you think that you can still attract more people? What are the services that you are offering that why are still people coming to you, even if they just wanted to have it through Zoom or something? How you have made to this point? Probably this is my question.
It's all about giving value right now, yeah. So we're not like nowadays, if you wanted to sell, like people scared, people run away. So our approach is never to sell. Our approach is like putting good deals, putting our service on the table. Like it's an irresistible offer. So then people will like call us up all the time. Like you can check on my website. I have about like 40, 50 agents, and all of them, they're busy. They're busy receiving calls. It's because we have like good deals. So let me quickly talk about Q Corp. Like we're not just selling residential real estate here. We also do commercial real estate. We do development, project development. We got in-house finance team. So if any client who wanted to just to know more about overseas people borrowing money or getting a home loan, I mean for local as well, you can always talk to us. And we also have an immigration arm. So recently we have so many inquiry from Hong Kong, from China. Because think about this: when this COVID-19 is finished, people already know that Australia, New Zealand, these two countries are the most safest place to live. They will come.
Cool. So tell me more about how do you assist an overseas investors with the immigration, or maybe later even with the financing as well? Tell me more about it.
Like, so we do visa, we do student abroad, we do this 1AA and 1AAC. These are the business innovation visa, things like that, immigration. Yeah.
Okay.
So pretty much our Q Corp organization is like a one-stop shop. So if imagine like you wanted to invest some money in Australia, and then later on you're like, oh, Australia is it's a very nice place. Maybe I'll send my kids over for a study. I don't want to send them to UK.
Sure.
I mean, no offense, some people they like UK, but for me, I like warm temperature. UK is too cold for me. I like to send my kids to Australia because it's multicultural
Sure.
country. We got Indian, Bangladesh, Chinese, Italian, French,
Pakistan.
anybody. Yeah. Yeah. So after that, after they have a interest of investing in Australia, we can help them in so many ways. Like we can, like our head of finance, Susan, she's done 2 to 3 cases for overseas people, like helping them to acquire a loan in Australia.
Right. And so if an overseas investor is willing to invest, what is the minimum amount of value that he or she should be considering in mind in order to invest?
This one is really depending on the situation. So we have overseas investors that coming to buy as little as $500,000 or as high as like 15 million.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's residential only. And when we talk about commercial, people they buy hotels. They buy like last year we sold a backpacker hotel in the Sydney CBD, and then we got like mascot hotel, we got farms, winery, offices, like anything.
Okay, so you're not into just real estate for a residential only. You're into commercial and even serving other business needs as well.
Oh yeah, man! I'm helping one of my friend to sell a restaurant in QVB, like Queen Victoria Building. Inside there, like she ran the business for 5 years. Right now, she just wanted to retire.
Okay.
Yeah. So like we're doing like everything. Like we're a center of engagement. Let me know.
Okay, no, that's great to know. So, of course, hopefully, if if anyone once we are done with this talk, if anybody later approaches us that they would like to have some similar services,
and we're connected with like the top people here. Like we're connected with the best lawyer in Australia, Brighton lawyers, good friends.
Right.
Yeah. So these people, they are not only doing property law, they're doing family law, they're doing criminal cases or compensation, anything. Just one call, we sort it out for you.
Wow, one-stop shop. I really like this business model,
Thank you.
and it does really help a lot, especially to overseas investors who are not aware much about the local situation, the local market, the local terms. taxation, stamp duty, all these matters. I think if we can provide all these sort of help from one window, I think that would be of great help to investors. Maybe a related question. A lot of investors, they do invest into properties and in the real estate as buying a unit or buying a house. But do you have this facility to assist investors to come in as an investor and buy shares of the project? Do you have this arrangement as well or no?
Yeah, that's just becoming a shareholder for one of our development projects.
Yes.
We always welcome investors because this is normally how we go. We got a pool, so people will throw like 2 million, 3 million into our investment pool, and then our development team, they're consistently going out there and source for projects, source for land. We do land acquisition and all that, and then we're gonna bring up the investor. Would they like to invest with us going this project? If they like it, then we structure some share. We go through the lawyer, we go through the accountant just to set up the structure before we even going in there.
Yeah. Valid for local investors only or overseas investors as well?
Oh, many overseas. Majority overseas.
Majority overseas. That
majority overseas.
Okay. Because I thought when I was reading through different information, so what I had in mind was because of the taxation applied for overseas investors, there might be sort of not that much of interest for overseas investors coming as an investor only and not buying a physical land or physical property just for investment and share purposes. But I guess that's not the case.
Yeah. So remember this. So doesn't matter how much money you're investing, you still call yourself an investor. So you can invest as minimum as like say 300K, a very small unit, to 200 million into a hotel project, into a massive redevelopment site. Yeah, we welcome all.
Sure. So maybe since we are going towards wrapping our session up, maybe I wanted to get an idea of the size of portfolio. Let's say if anybody wants to invest in Sydney and they don't have much knowledge, they're just new to Sydney, right?
Yep.
Maybe they're coming from a different state within Australia or within the region, or maybe somebody from outside and recently moved in or planning to move to Australia, and they would like to invest depending on, let's say, whatever the budget is. What are the areas that you are currently catering? Let's say, what part of Australia or Sydney do you have properties or partnerships in that you could help future clients?
Okay, so on our book right now, we have about 80 projects in Sydney. And we've got another like 60 projects in Melbourne, another like 3 or 4 in Brisbane. I'm not a big fan of Brisbane right now because right now it's still Sydney. Like Sydney is very solid. Yeah, no matter in what time, what situation, Sydney is always the number one, and then followed by Melbourne. Okay, so when it comes to say what are the hotspot, I would wanted to go maybe a few steps back. Like I wouldn't just jump into a hotspot there because every spot or every suburb, it has its very unique selling point or like advantage. But for investor, we're only focusing in a few things. One is the capital gain. All right, everybody wants your property to go up, right? Everybody wants the property, your asset to go up. But it takes time. It's not like share goes up 200% tomorrow and then comes down to another 100. It's very steady and stable. So in Sydney here, every year you're talking about like 5 to 7%. Last year it was like 10.2% or 11.2%. I forgot the exact, but it was a double figure. The year before it was like 7. So it's consistently going up. Okay. So the second thing is the rental. you need to have a very strong rental. This is what I call the cash flow. Okay.
Sure.
And then you want your rent to come in consistently. So you wanted to invest in a place where it has very low vacancy rate.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So 3 point. You guys remember, number one is the capital gain, in
Mm-hmm.
the potential capital gain. Number two, high rental yield. Number three, low vacancy rate. So I can already name like 2 or 3 places straight away. Like I'll just use the recent deal. Like we closed 11 deals in the past 2 weeks, in the past 10 days to be exact. And then actually most of these people are local investors. Yeah, we got a few overseas investor, but they're
Mm-hmm.
still looking. Okay, so for these people, they are buying 700 for 2 to 3 bed unit, and they
Okay.
are buying a lot of house and land. So house and land is about a 4 to 5 bedroom near our future airport. It's only like 15 minutes away from our future airport. And you think about it, an airport is so much bigger than a railway station, so much bigger than any highway infrastructure you can have. It's like the biggest infrastructure here in Sydney. Yeah, not the small airport right now. Like our small airport is it's too tiny. Like
Okay.
it's actually a shame to tell people this right now. It's our international airport. It's a shame. Yeah.
Okay.
So
That's that I had in mind.
yeah.
Many times what I've heard from realtors
Mm,
is when we compare Sydney to Melbourne, their
mm,
property market. People normally say, Sydney, especially in the CBDs, the Sydney is overpriced.
mm,
uh, there is some artificial, I don't know what kind of element in there,
mm.
and that's why Sydney is overpriced. And then a lot of Sydney buyers or Sydney investors are now moving to Melbourne or Brisbane for the
Hmm.
investment. How true is that statement in terms of your experience?
I think whatever they say, whatever they think is true. Right? Like for people that thinks Sydney is overpriced, that's true, and they will never buy in Sydney. I'm not saying any. I'm not against people that don't like to come to Sydney, but
Right.
we have people that buying every day in Sydney. Like my
Mhm.
team is selling every day to their client in Sydney, and I also have a team in Melbourne. Also have a few people in Gold Coast and Brisbane. Like pretty
Mhm.
much every single state here, they're selling. It just depending on the purpose, right? So why people say overpriced? If you only have say 500K, for example, and you want to buy a 1 bedroom in Sydney CBD, well, it's not going to happen because Sydney CBD one better, you're talking about like 750 to a mil to minimum, and then with like 500K, you can only buy a 1 bed in Melbourne CBD, right?
Sure. Sure.
Then go buy in Melbourne CBD. Yeah, like
Cool.
I'm in Sydney for over 20 years, and Sydney is the most solar place. I just very obsessed with Sydney property.
Sure. I mean, even people coming from abroad who want to migrate to Australia or who want to visit Australia. I think the first thing that they have in mind is Sydney, and then probably comes to Melbourne, and probably these are the two most popular cities that normally people know. And probably that's how they start exploring even their move or their visit, or probably the last step would be the investment.
Yeah, you're right. You're spot on. Like when I was young, when people were talking about like Brisbane, I'm like, where is Brisbane? I never heard this word before. I never heard this city before. Yeah, you
Mhm.
think about it, like if you're overseas parent, yeah, and you decided to send your kids over to Australia. I think the first or the second city that you would think of is Sydney and Melbourne. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe taking this example just
Mm,
quickly, I think we're just about to finish our time for
okay.
to keep it attractive for
Mm,
the audience.
mm.
Maybe let's say if we have a lot of people in the Middle East who have their children going abroad to study, and maybe if some family is planning to send their kids to let's say Sydney, and at the
Yep.
same time they want to migrate and they want to buy a house that would be actually closer to at least some educational institutions, what would be what would be the localities or what would be the suburbs that they should be looking into in order for an investment point of view and for their own purpose. So they would move in straight away in that property and then let their kids stay there for their duration of the studies, related
Yep.
activities.
Okay. I'll give you a quick example because we have this inquiry a lot. Like the kids are going to use it like Sydney Sydney University or
Yep.
UNSW, like University of New South Wales, right? So
Yep.
these are the two top university in Sydney right now, and then people they're living in here, and then they want to buy nearby. But the thing is, the price is actually quite high, higher than what they expected around this area. And the other thing is we don't have new projects. You have lack of supply around these primary areas.
Right.
So then you're spending a lot of money into you're competing with so many people. So what I suggest is just think about this into two parts: invest, and the other one is to live in. For living, you don't need to own. You can always rent, and it's really flexible because you can rent a place right very close to uni. Okay, that will be good for your study as well. Like you
Sure.
don't have to travel a long time. And then
Sure.
once you finish your uni degree, you're going to work in either city or in Parramatta. So then you're not stuck in a place. You can you can rent in Parramatta or rent near city. But then the other money, it's just focus into investment.
Okay, I think
Yeah.
that's a smart suggestion. To be flexible. I think it will give you a lot of flexibility, and so I think it's probably one of the good approach to have for future investors. So I guess if we don't have any questions, let's see if we have any questions. Or probably I think we had so many questions asking in between anyway. So probably would have addressed a lot of the queries in our talk. But I guess I think we have good number of viewers, so I think they like it, and they actually more people love our sessions. So thanks to you, Don, for very informative and very lively session. And I guess if I get any more questions or queries coming in later on, I'll just directly put them in touch with you.
No problem, man. We're
To
always here to willing to give out content value. This is what I do. This is what we do as an organization. So yeah, thank you for having me, and really good to see you, like in Zoom.
Okay, no, it's always a pleasure. I miss the coffees that I had in your office. So, but hopefully, when I'm back to Sydney, I'll do drop by. As I have always mentioned, that I really love the view. Unfortunately, we are doing it in this point of time. We cannot see the view from your window, but I guess you have probably one of the nicest views from your office.
Yeah, if you are doing it in another time, maybe I can show you. Like today is a great, like it's a great day. I've got some sunburn here from playing golf this morning.
Wow.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. All right.
No worries. Thank you very much. Highly appreciate your time, and we look forward to having you in maybe in one of our future sessions.
Yeah. Sure. Let me know.
Thank
See
you,
ya.
man. Thank you very much. Okay. Bye bye.